As I mentioned in my last video, dreams give us an exact statement of our psychological situation, but they do it with images. So I want to illustrate in this, the fourth video in our series on decoding dreams, with a couple of pretty common examples of dream motifs that come up. This is not to say that your dreams, if you have these motifs in them, mean this. These are just examples. And in the next video, I'm going to talk more about how you figure out what the symbols in the dreams do mean. So a real common one is dreaming that you're in a car, maybe it's your car, and somebody else is in the driver's seat. So if we think about this as a metaphor, we might ask questions like, who is driving my life right now? Who is in a position of control? And this can refer to somebody in the outer world, but it could also mean that there's a part of you that's overriding the rest of you. So to use one example, let's say your dad's driving the car. So you might look back over the previous day and realize, I went off on somebody in exactly the same way that my dad used to go off on people. So the dream might be saying, you're in a bit of a complex here. You're in a bit of a dad space here. You need to look at that, because this part of you is overriding you. It's steering you instead of you steering your life. That's one possible meaning. There can be others too. So flying is a common one. Depends on the mood too. If you're feeling scattered in a flying dream, it may mean that your feet need to be back on the ground, that you need to be more grounded, that you're scattered too much mentally. But if it's a euphoric feeling in the dream, it could be that your flights of fancy are leading you in a good direction. The night after I started teaching my own online classes outside of higher ed, I had a dream that I was back in the skating rink I grew up in, and I was doing waltz jumps, which always felt to me as a beginner like leaps into the unknown. And in the dream, I was doing one after another, and I felt joyful. And the dream, I think, was saying, okay, what you did yesterday with these new classes, do more of that, right? Sometimes dreams get behind us and push when we don't sufficiently appreciate something that's a good thing. So dreams that we're naked in sometimes refer to feeling overly exposed or vulnerable somehow, perhaps anxious how we're showing up for somebody or in public. When I have home invasion dreams, I often wonder, what am I trying to keep out? What am I trying to keep myself from being conscious of, from realizing? What's knocking on the door, right? Dreams where your teeth are coming out are pretty common. So one thing that they can mean, these can all have multiple meanings, but one thing that this could point to is that you've just reached some kind of a transition of maturity. So you think about how for some kids and some families, you lose a tooth and it's, oh, you're getting older, and there's a little bit of a celebration, happening. So it could be your psyche's way of saying you just progressed, you just outgrew something. Dreaming that you're late, a good thing to look at is your expectations about yourself. Do I feel like I'm late somewhere in my life? Do I have high expectations that I feel like I'm not meeting? And then dreams of death often aren't literal. They mean something in us has to die. But it gets kind of scary when somebody actually does die. This has happened to me several times. When you have a death dream and then somebody dies right afterwards. So take a deeper look at that. They could, for the dream's point of view, they could symbolize something in you that's dying, something that needed to die. That would be worth looking into as well. So next time, how do you get there with all this? Let's talk about that.